Children of the Atom #2 continues the mystery of the new maybe mutants Cherub, Marvel Guy, Cyclops-Lass, Gimmick, and Daycrawler. Nope, Nighty-Night Crawler, which is not better, with the Avengers and Storm looking to find them, the Children of the Atom kids still acting shady as heck about going to Krakoa, and everyone getting ready for a night out at a Dazzler concert. Today I'll answer, are the Avengers always this bad at supporting mutants? What does it mean if the Children of the Atom aren't mutants? Is it time for a new Dazzler? Plus theories and predictions for things to come in Hickman's X-Men, specifically with Children of the Atom, this new series launch. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Busing, founder and editor-in-chief of comicbookherald.com. You are listening to Krakin Krakoa number 172. If you like the Comic Book Herald YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. It all helps me out a great deal. You can find full X-Men and comic book reading orders on comicbookherald.com with links in the show notes. Spoilers for discussed comics will follow. Writer Vita Ayala, art by Bernard Chang, colors Marcelo Maiolo, letters by Travis Lanham. Avengers show up here to the Krakoan embassy. We got Captain America, Iron Man, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel to talk to who happens to be there, which is Mystique and Multiple Man initially, about those rascally Children of the Atom kids and of course their impact and how they are impacted by Kamala's law. The Avengers are basically all like, we don't make or like the laws, but it is the law and there's nothing we can do. Now, if you are slightly unfamiliar, Kamala's Law is a part of the Outlawed crossover event going on in Marvel right now. It begins in the pages of Champions. I do have a reading order on Comic Herald if you're so inclined, but basically it runs through the teen books, right? So you have Champions, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, and then, for example, like Power Pack gets involved. But effectively what it is it's a Civil War, it's a superhero registration act, but specifically for kids, for teenagers that are, vigilante teens, okay? And the Children of the Atom would fall under its protocols of the potential, what is known as Kamala's Law. Now, it's a predictably bad look for the Avengers to waltz into the mutant embassy, the sovereign mutant nation of Krakoa, and show up, I guess, just to say, like, hey, keep track of your kids, kind of like give them a stern warning, like you better go collect those rascally Children of the Atom kids. But of course, as we know from the first issue, those kids aren't actually a part of Krakoa, right? They seem to be mutants. Everyone, the conversation around them certainly is they are presenting as mutants, but what we've seen is, of course, they can't actually use the Krakoan gates, so they are not a part of Krakoa. They are not a part of mutant kind, at least as we know them to be so far, okay? So what the Avengers are really trying to do here is honestly quite unclear. Storm puts them in the condescending Avengers in their place, right? It's a great look for Storm, who clearly dominates the argument from the outset. Yes, the Avengers being set up as strawmen for her to dominate. Now, if the Avengers do want to toss around their influence, as Storm points out, how about conversations about the very bad teenage outlaw laws? Like, that would be a great place to start. It's a clear statement, I think, from Ayala and the team here that those old ways of interacting, where the X-Men kind of needed the Avengers' blessing to operate in the same space, those are well out the door, right? Storm especially is great at sort of signifying and kind of embodying like how far beyond this nonsense mutants have come, right? That with Krakoa, like, they don't need Captain America's approval. Maybe they never did, right? So I do want to say to you, like, historically the Avengers are very bad at actually supporting mutants. This is not super out of character for them. There's a lot of moments of the Avengers, whoever's on the roster, ostensibly being on the same side of mutants and definitely wanting and leveraging their help in terms of saving the world, and not being out and out anti-mutant by any measure, but doing a lot of things that are definitely, there are a lot of ways they probably could have helped more thoroughly. It's one of the complications, frankly, of the Marvel Universe when you have this entire group of people in mutant kind that has not really been protected by the Avengers the same way that humanity has, right? It's a complication. And part of it is very, we have to be acknowledged that, like, yeah, they're in different books with different writers with different stated goals, So it's a hole there, but it's something that could be explored in more detail. And it's not just the obvious stuff too, like Avengers vs. X-Men, where they're literally at each other's throats, but think too, like, post House of M, Decimation in the mutant Marvel Universe, where there's literally 198 mutants who still have their mutant abilities after that, okay? After the Scarlet Witch's decimation. What about Tony Stark, like, providing security for the 198 after decimation, right? About saying like, hey, here, I'm going to set up like protections for you, and here's some resources that you can use, instead of them being trapped inside of an X-Mansion surrounded by Sentinels. Like, I feel like there were better options where the Avengers could have stepped up, and generally speaking, they did not. Or there might be examples where they did, and I'm just overlooking it. Now, throughout Children of the Atom, mostly we focus and we meet Gabriel Braithwaite. People see me as a body to be exploited or clock me as a threat to be dealt with, we hear Gabriel state, who is a young teenage black man. He is a star basketball player, so he's an athlete, and he's talking about all the prejudices and kind of the misconceptions that people have just based on looking at him, right? And it's very strong early characterization and a clear path, I think, to how Children of the Atom could work if it is going to be an extended ongoing series, which I don't know is a given right now, right? Like, is this an ongoing? Is this a mini? I could see it going either way. I don't think at this stage, like, Children of the Atom is a hit with the force of, say, Runaways or even Young Avengers yet. I just don't think the reveals or, frankly, the quality of the book puts it there. But you see glimpses, and those glimpses are in the characterization of Gabriel, where I'm like, okay, this is a character I'm very interested in following and seeing what their story is. We do also see Gabriel interact with this young teenager, Buddy Cole, who's another superstar athlete who we saw in the first issue. He can dunk like LeBron, basically. And it's like, wait, what? He's 17 or something. He's come back from these experimental trials after he was sick, and clearly something happened there where there's something mysterious going on, where like, okay, he's gonna have powers. Like, there's some experimenting going on. Could it be mutant abilities, injected into an individual? That is to be seen. I mean, I think otherwise, as we see this battle play out and we see the Children of the Atom in action, I'm finding Vita Ayala's dialogue here a lot less natural than I found their work to be on New Mutants, but I do always have time for teen heroes cracking old jokes. That works for me in the grand tradition of Peter Parker Spider-Man. But in general, like, I'm definitely way more on board with Ayala's New Mutants so far than I have been with Children of the Atom, a series that feels like through 2 issues, it just doesn't quite have the solid footing that you'd want it to have, okay? But the children, they go to the Dazzler concert, which... okay, like, I get Lila Cheney and Dazzler are, the pop music references for mutant music, but for kids, wouldn't Dazzler kind of be like going to a Madonna or like Kylie Minogue show? Like, sliding timescale, yes, but like, couldn't there be more contemporary, like, mutant pop artists out there in the world? I feel like it's time for a new mutant pop music paradigm, and not to like, listen, Dazzler's a legend, right? Like, if they want to go to a Dazzler show and have a good time, they can do that. But I feel like, some more reference points, some more touch points would be a good thing in the Marvel Mutant Universe. Now, we do also get a nice deep cut here with a Cats Laughing reference on the Dazzler concert poster, okay? The band members of Cats Laughing, they appeared previously. Chris Claremont must have been a fan, or at least well aware of them. They have showed up before in Excalibur. I think it's actually Excalibur issue number 5. This is a real band. They have the performers have feet in the sci-fi and fantasy novel community, which is likely why the likes of Claremont, maybe Alan Davis, were familiar with them. You can actually check out their songs on YouTube right now. Go check out Cats Laughing. They have a Beat Happening meets 80s indie REM vibe, and it's perfectly enjoyable, but I do appreciate that connection there. So the Children of Atom kids, like, in this issue, they stop a Hell's Bells prison outbreak. These are the women that they put in prison in the first issue, and we learn that Krakoan mutant marketing needs to improve. Okay, you have these Hell's Bells avoiding Krakoa because a bunch of them want their mutant powers back. Okay, so a number of the Hell's Bells, like, they've been depowered through decimation, through the Scarlet Witch's actions in House of M, and they're like, I don't want to go to Krakoa and see, all these cool mutants running around, but like showing off their powers. Like, that would make this even worse. They don't know about Crucible. They don't know about the potential of resurrection and getting their powers back. Again, like, this is a thing where Krakoa has been made available to all mutants, but not all mutants understand what that means. They don't really know, and at the same, like, by the same token, a lot of humanity doesn't understand this, right? We've seen, like, a number of issues now where, humanity, like, doesn't totally know about resurrection or, like, the way that, these things work. Like, Krakoa still has a lot of secrets, and I think the fact that they're being kept from mutants in some cases is probably detrimental to getting more people to go there. I do want to comment here too that, like, throughout this action, I'm finding Bernard Chang's art very average. I think, like, when we get the visuals of the kids in costume, there's a glossiness that it can be kind of dazzling, and there's a spark to, like, static images, but when things are moving, the panels get very crowded. The visuals are frequently really zoomed in a way that I just do not enjoy as a comics reader. It does not sell kinetic energy. It does not sell action to me. And again, as we get to know these characters, the action sequences tend to feel the most plotting. They tend to feel the most like, if I wasn't doing a review of this, I'd just be flipping through these, scanning through on my tablet pretty quickly, honestly, and that is going to be to the detriment of the story. I think like that's definitely something that I'm looking to improve, because all the potential is there. So the Children of the Atom kids again reject Storm's offer. Storm shows up to aid with the prison break and extends a helping hand, like literally to the Hell's Bells, saying, hey, by the way, like, you should come to Krakoa. It would be great for you. But the Children of the Atom kids are like, no, we don't want to, which of course we know is because they can't actually go through the gate. Now, when Gabriel's talking about it, it's sort of implied that like he's hiding behind mutant names. It just, his language sort of suggests that like it's a choice to honor mutants, but but consciously knows he's not actually a mutant. But then we see the kids again at the end of issue 2 trying to use Krakoan gates. And why would they keep trying to use the gates if they know they're not mutants? That part is particularly confusing to me. So where's this going? Okay, I think, like, definitely I don't know for sure, but my theory is that this book is going to tap into questions of identity, I think, is going to be the central theme. And I think, Vita Ayala is the one bringing up Gabby's resurrection in New Mutants, right? Like, that book, like, right from jump, Ayala and Rice come onto the book, and New Mutants starts having way more earnest conversations around, okay, who does Krakoa actually resurrect? And it extends to, like, Rain Sinclair's son, Tyr, as well. And it's like, okay, you have these individuals, Gabby in particular, like Honey Badger, now Scout, the clone of Laura Kinney Wolverine, like, a clone, yes, but, like, it identifies as mutant, right? Comes from, like, a mutant clone. So we have these living sentient beings who identify as mutant, excluded from the mutant utopia. I think that theme is going to be very much at the core of Children of the Atom as well. And I think the way that it potentially works best is we have genetic experiments in play here. Okay, we have Cole, we know, like, went to a hospital, got some genetic experiments, now he has powers, right? Could we have something where these kids, these Children of the Atom, are frequent, I don't know if it's victims, I don't know if it's beneficiaries of similar experiments, where essentially they have all of the mutant characteristics but still get rejected by a Krakoan gate. Okay, what then? So I think probably it's going to be complex. Like, this is a tricky balancing act to pull off, because I think the one thing that I said this in the first issue review, and I still stand there, is that I really don't think that Ayala and the team would do a group of 5 Children of the Atom that are just straight up not mutants and know it. I think that gets into very, very messy territory, which, not that this can't be messy, right? Like, it can be, and you can still get great art out of it. But I think, like, that to me doesn't ask or answer a lot of especially interesting questions. I think it gets more interesting, and where I could see this going again is if, like, basically, like, if the Children of the Atom have a case, what is their case? What is their expectation that the Krakoan gates will work for them? Because if it's purely, like, fantasy, if it's purely and maybe that's totally the wrong word, but if it's purely just something that they feel or identify with, as opposed to having some rationale for that, and I don't know, I'm already tumbling down a rabbit hole of not knowing what this story is going to be. But I will say the theory here for me is that I think these genetic experiments have happened in such a way on a number of these Children of the Atom where they now basically feel and act as mutants, and that's why they have the expectation they can use the Krakoan gate. And there's going to have to be some sort of reckoning, some sort of resolving of all of these individuals, because it's not just them. Like I said, you've got Gabby, you've got Honey Badger, you've got other clones that we've seen kind of cut out of Krakoan society, and I think there's going to be some sort of reckoning about, okay, what about these characters? And that to me would be probably the most interesting thing that Children of the Atom could be doing in this moment. So I'm definitely, like, still pretty on the fence about this book through 2 issues. Like, I'm invested and compelled by the mystery, but that's a dangerous storytelling game to play, I think, to leave this, like, because the twist has to really resolve in an exciting, unexpected way to keep this book interesting. And that can totally sabotage and derail a book. Or, by the same token, if we get to, and I hope it doesn't take this long, but, like, issue 5, or better yet, issue 3, and it's like, oh, that's what's going on here. Oh, that's exciting. Then all of a sudden we've got, potentially a long-running Children of the Atom series that could be very interesting. So the card for the next issue reads, Unusual Dinner Guests. Again, like, I I want to keep reading because I want to know what is happening here, right? Like, I'm not in love with this book. And I'll say too, like, it fits pretty firmly in, you know, like I mentioned, those outlaw crossovers, like it fits pretty firmly in a Miles Morales Spider-Man, in a Miss Marvel slot, with Champions. Like, if those are books you dig, you'll probably dig Children of the Atom more. Now, for me, those are books I'm not as into at the moment, right? And part of that is just like, maybe I've aged out of them. That's fine. That's like, there are books for different audiences. Great. Marvel should have that. But I do definitely want to know what the mystery is and what the impact on the X-Men line will be. So let me know, what are your theories? What are your comments? Where do you think this book is going? What is the mystery of the Children of the Atom? And is this series working for you? You know, definitely want to hear that in the comments here as well. So again, I'm Dave. You can find my stuff at comicbookherald.com. You can support the site over at patreon.com/comicbookherald. Thanks in particular to our mysterious benefactors. Thank you, Jesse W., Megan Getman, Cole Weathers, Martin Lopez, Chris Isidro, Brent Bowser, Professor X3769, PD Appleseed, Verisimilitude, Tara Nort, Ed Mackey, Clyde DeGlide, Pinball Drew, Mike Solomons, Matt Mahoney, and John Samander. Thank you so much for your support. Again, find my stuff over at comicbookherald.com, at Comic Book Herald on social. Look for the best comics ever and My Marvelous Year podcast for more from me. So thank you. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. And as always, enjoy the comics.